All right, thank you, Senator Morgan and Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. And thank you to all the senators who contributed to the debate today. It's clearly been quite robust and full of passion for the topic, regardless of the perspectives taken. Mr. President, if I just try to address a few of the issues that have been raised during the course of the debate, and I want to express appreciation to Senator Morris Dixon for having identified some of the issues that were raised in my absence so that I'm able to have a look at what should properly be addressed. But I do note that they were really quite effectively addressed in the other presentations that were made on this side. So I will just touch on a few for the purpose of not only clarity and emphasis, but to wrap the debate in an appropriate manner. So I just want to first look on the issue of this having the IRDs being put forward as entrenching restrictions in beach access. And I thought you had addressed that very effectively, Mr. President, when you were down here with us, not only sharing the activities that have been undertaken already, but I also wanted to remind that there is a program to develop at least one public beach with proper facilities using tourism enhancement fund in every parish. And this is certainly going to be helpful in developing and sharing resources at a particular level. I want to also address the fact that there was a broad query around linkages, around sufficient economic benefit, the spread of benefit, and I recognize that Senators Duncan, Bennett Cooper, Sinclair and Morgan have all addressed the matter of economic benefit. It is clear. Senator Duncan was clear when he said that many Caribbean markets are on this path and Jamaica cannot be a late mover on this because everyone has seen the benefits. The reality is that our agri-linkages exchange program alone, the ALEX program, which has been responsible for billions of dollars of sales, cutting out the middleman and allowing small farmers to receive a benefit directly, is one example. And the intention is to expand this beyond agriculture using the exchange for other small businesses. And what the IRD model will do, or the IRD product, is expand the type of investment and the type of purchase that can be made and that will be made under the ALEX program as expanded. Mr. President, again, I wanted to also speak about some of the broader impact. And Senator Bennett Cooper had really dealt well with the matter of housing. But I wanted to also remind that, as it had been addressed in another place, the group that is the first in line, or appears to be first in line thus far on the implementation of IRDs, has already built 600 rooms for staff alone. That entity alone has already done it. So we're not talking about what is possible and only about government provision, but it's about investors that understand that development is a holistic endeavor nowadays, and that the type of investment that we're encouraging as a government is one that will impact at many different levels, and housing is just one of them. So there will be more jobs, as has been pointed out, more housing, more opportunity, more training, generally more prosperity that will come as a result of the IRD programs engaged in. And Senator Scott Motley had asked a specific question as to whether casinos exist now. And the answer is no. Casinos do not exist now. Gaming lounges do exist, and they are regulated by the BGLC. And the BGLC does in fact engage with RISE, and they do have engagements, but they are looking now at how they expand the program, expand public education, how they expand their own resourcing. And as I told you about the MOUs before, the international partnerships, which will not only bring in resources, but bring in training, etc. It's clear that there is an intentional approach to it. No one is pretending that this is going to be easy and that once the law is passed, everything is magic. A lot of work has been happening. And that takes me to the point of the resourcing that was raised earlier as well, because the question of ensuring how the CGC is able to do the work that's anticipated by these regulations, by the framework, by the Act. This is not just a matter of money or a matter of personnel. It's a matter of ensuring that they have the technical expertise to be able to deliver on what we are providing for. And I wanted to just share some information because I think it's really quite impressive, the work that's underway. So the KIP Commission's primary focus has been on deliberately building the operational capacity and the technical competence required to regulate a modern casino gaming environment. Recognizing that many of the specialized skills are not yet readily available on the local market, not yet, because we are dealing with transfer of knowledge, transfer of training capacity, etc. That was another question asked earlier. So the CGC has adopted a structured approach, which is centered on targeted recruitment, international partnerships, and sustained technical training. And just to give you a few examples, in 2024, they had foundational regulatory training delivered in collaboration with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, Canada. 25 to 26, they had the expansion of the Commission's organizational structure and the recruitment of key operational staff to support licensing, compliance, and enforcement functions, specialized training in casino compliance and investigations for enforcement personnel facilitated with the Association of Certified Gaming Compliance Specialists. There's been participation in the GLI University technical training in as recent as this year, 2026, and this has all been designed to expose CGC staff to and it has been expanded beyond CGC staff to FID, MOCA, and the JCA to ensure that systems, processes, and monitoring protocols being developed internally for effective undertaking of their obligations under the Act. Mr. President, they've even had targeted training on table games operations already and how they monitor gameplay, rules of game, how to identify cheating and irregular contact. And this works together with, I don't know if you remember earlier when I was going through the regulations, we stipulated that there are specific supervision and security surveillance requirements in the casino. And so there's a technological aspect, and then there's the human aspect of being able to identify cheating and irregular conduct. And then there's also been, again, this last year, there was advanced anti-money laundering training in the context of casino gambling delivered by an international subject matter expert. So the development of a casino regulatory training academy and an e-learning platform is actually underway in partnership with this ACCGS that I mentioned earlier to support continuous development and institutional knowledge building, because the intention is not to say you're going to train everybody and then that's it. You have to have an institution that continues to grow and to recognize that employment is going to be cyclic and people are going to be moving in and out of the space. So you want to make sure that you have a mechanism or an institutional framework that supports training. And there is also continued active collaboration through Memoranda of Understanding and strategic partnerships with the more mature jurisdictions, as I mentioned earlier. So Canada, the UK, Nevada, Singapore, and other select regulators to facilitate knowledge transfer and technical exchange. So altogether, this ensures that the CGC will not only be properly staffed, but properly equipped and trained to effectively implement and enforce the regulatory framework, which is being completed, well, not complete, but being enhanced by the regulations before us today. I wanted to also remind, again, on the resourcing, that under the public sector transformation initiative, the Racing Commission, the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission, and the Casino Gaming Commission are being merged. So this is going to, again, allow for greater efficiencies, greater leveraging of the human and financial resources and the structure that's being put around all of this. So it won't be BGLC monitoring the gaming lounges and then CGC monitoring casino. You're going to have one institution that will have the responsibility for gaming within our jurisdiction. Senator Scott Motley had also asked about vulnerability and how is vulnerability to be treated, how is vulnerability defined. So I wanted to just bring attention to the responsible gaming framework again, and look at the definition. Vulnerable, I'm going to just read it, means susceptible to uncontrolled or excessive casino gaming or other forms of problematic gambling behaviors due to factors such as age, personal, social, or family circumstances, complex mental health, psychological learning problems, or the effects of substance, drugs, or alcohol abuse. Beyond this, this is the vulnerability. Remember, the aim of the act is to protect against the harm on vulnerable persons. No, it means that procedures have to be developed in respect of them. So not only access, but when they're in there, you have to identify them. That's why people are being trained to identify problematic behaviors. If you look in the regulations, you'll even find that a database of problem gamblers also has to be established, etc. So the point is that systems are in place to identify vulnerability. Yes, it couldn't be more widely defined. And this is in addition to the definition of children, etc. So this is properly thought out, as Senator Morgan was indicated. The time has been taken. We won't be guessing, but this is actually to be there in more than one facet. So on the note of borrowing from the research that Senator Sinclair had shared with us, which had assessed and found that the net benefits would outweigh any perceived social and economic costs. I think we can feel satisfied that the time that has been taken to build the institutional framework has been well used, and that the regulations that are before us for affirmation are in fact robust and well thought out, and should be able to ensure that that what is done serves the best interests of all concerned. I want to also just clarify one thing that I think should be really placed properly on the record. Senator Scott Motley had said gambling is an addiction. Gambling is not an addiction. Gambling is a practice, and some people can get addicted to it. They're just like sugar is not an addiction, but sugar is something that people can get addicted to. But an appropriate and effective regulatory framework and reasonable reliance on responsibility, and where responsibility can't be achieved individually, then it must require third-party intervention, including effective procedures and protocols in place by the operators. And these are audited, monitored, and will be enforced by the Commission through the internal standards and the minimum internal standards. Those are all provided for, and the structure is really pretty tight